Great. Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our Campaigning with Social Media webinar. So we're excited to have you here today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. So just to let you know, my name is Debbie Nielsen. I'm one of 5 staff at NSFM. And I'm just going to help today host the webinar and help with the questions and whatnot. And I also just want to make just a couple quick announcements and a few housekeeping items, and then I'll introduce our 2 presenters who are really great, and I think it's going to be a very, very good good webinar. I've had a dry run of both slide shows, so they're excellent. So just to let you know, every second Thursday, NSFM offers a webinar, different topic. We try to keep them relevant and interesting to you, and it's very easy to join. All you have to do every Monday, Amy sends out a Monday memo, and in that is the schedule of our upcoming webinars. So you just have to send us a note if you're interested in a topic, and we'll send you a link to it, and then you just pop it in your calendar and voila. So that's why you guys are all here today. So even though I just said it's every second Tuesday, we are offering one next Tuesday, which is the 23rd of July, a very important topic on ending racism and discrimination. And again, we have got a really great lineup of presenters. So we encourage you to, if you're interested, to join us on next Thursday, 11 o'clock, and it's always a Zoom platform. So just let us know you're interested, and we'll send you off the link. And just keep your eyes open in our Monday memo for the unfolding schedule of webinars. And you can also check it out on our website as well. There's a tab on our website for you, and you can find out what's happening in terms of webinars. So I know everybody's probably very familiar with Zoom. I'm just going to ask Amy, if you don't mind, just to advance to. Thank you, Amy. So I think everyone's probably very familiar with Zoom, given that we've been in this COVID lockdown for quite a while, but I just wanted to run over a couple of housekeeping items. So first of all, I did mention earlier that we are recording this session. So Amy takes the recordings and she puts them up on a YouTube video, and we'll put those on our website under our webinar tab, along with the presentations today. And I think Ty is also going to show a video, and we didn't have any volume with it, so we think we're going to send that out to you later, but we'll confirm all that with you at the end of this session. As you all know, I muted you earlier, and that's just so we can have a good quality of audio. So if you want to speak, you just have to unmute yourself. But we are thinking that it might be easier if people have questions to put them in the chat box. And if you just hover your cursor at the bottom of your screen, so you just have to hover your cursor, and that little band will pop up, and just almost dead center, you'll see chat. And you just have to chat, you just have to type your chat in there. Your question will come up, and we'll take a look at them. We'll keep an eye on it. That's part of my role. And so I think we're going to run both presentations, and then we will, at the end, we'll go through the chat and the questions. So without further ado, thank you, Amy. I just want to introduce our 2 presenters. So our very own Amy Pusley-Fraser. So Amy, many of you know, is our communications manager. She's a former journalist with the Chronicle Herald and All Nova Scotia, and she knows a lot about social media. So she runs all of our social media platforms. So she's here today to present as well. Ty Walsh, Deputy Mayor, no less, of the town of Berwick. And Ty campaigned last year, and he's last election, using social media, and it was very successful. So he's going to share with you some of the tips that he used and how he was successful with social media and winning his campaign to become councillor and now the deputy mayor of the town of Berwick. So I'm going to pass it over to Amy, and I'm going to mute myself, and she'll unmute herself. And yeah, enjoy.
So good morning, everybody. It's really nice to be here with you. And I'm going to just walk you through the basic platforms of social media and introduce what used to be the forefront of campaigning in these elections. I've covered 5 municipal elections. So if you do the math, that takes me back to the year 2000. And I covered them all for the Chronicle Herald and All Nova Scotia. In the very beginning, 20 years ago, this is how traditional campaigning used to happen. You would register your nomination, get your signs out. It was all there was a template that you followed. It was very easy to know what you had to do. And then all of a sudden, you had a lot of news coverage as well. 20 years ago, it was one of my roles was to take all the news releases that candidates would send into the paper. I'd rewrite them, and then we'd put them right in the paper. It was guaranteed news coverage. There was a lot of news outlets from Yarmouth to Sydney, you were guaranteed a great story about you running for your municipal council. And there were also traditional rallies, meet and greets, candidate debates, everything. And then what happened? The last couple of years, we have a lot of papers shutting down. We have Torstar that used to run the Metro Weekly here. They shut down. Then all of a sudden, the Chronicle Herald, which was translated into Saltwire, that bought all the local newspapers around, they started laying off staff. Even the Coast, a free weekly that publishes in Halifax and is online, they also shut down its print newspaper, laid off staff, and then all of a sudden, what happened? Production of local newspapers is completely shut down across Nova Scotia, cutting off that venue for you guys to get your message out. In addition to that, we have decline of local journalism. We've got signs banned in some municipalities. This morning, the CBC ran a story about Yarmouth moving to ban election signs and Kentville to consider restrictions. Another venue that's shut off for you guys. All of a sudden, we've got COVID-19 in there too. So the door-to-door that used to be a guaranteed way of getting to know your neighbors, your residents, your constituents, also cut off for you. So what does this mean? What's left? What is there that's left? Well, thankfully, about 20 years ago, the rise of new media. Everything is available online and mostly on your telephone, on your cell phone. You can have everything that you need, all your TV, your radio, and your news, your print journalism, all on your phone. So how do you guys then tap into that? Who is writing the stories here? Here are the new news producers. It's basically anyone with an iPhone. Anyone can be a news producer, can be a reporter. All you need is a phone. And most of it goes to Apple News. I know a lot of people who get most of their news from Apple News by swiping left on their iPhone every morning. I personally can't stand that because I prefer to choose my own news content. But here's what's the most important thing for you guys. You guys now have your own printing press. You don't have to depend on journalists to take your message and mangle it down and tweak it down and cut it down. You have the ability to be your own printing press. Here's Way Mason launching his campaign this Monday, 4 days ago. He used this on Instagram to announce that he was running. He also did a lot of cross-platform announcing as well. And we're going to talk about that later. But I'm using this as an example of how you can, your campaign literature is now online. Instagram, Twitter. Someone who's running to replace Stephen Adams in HRM has decided to use Twitter as her main platform to reach people. This guy's running for mayor and he's using LinkedIn. We'll talk about LinkedIn coming up as well. Matt Whitman running for mayor against Mike Savage in Halifax. He's choosing this video to highlight his mayoral run on YouTube. And lastly, Facebook. And now we're going to talk about which one of these is going to be best for you. So there are a lot of ways to get the message out. I didn't include all of the different ways. There's also Snapchat, TikTok, Pinterest, all these names that have foreign sounding names if you're not familiar with them. But these are the top 5. And these are really the most important ones that we are going to focus on today. And here's why. So here's Twitter. I've put a little blurb in about Twitter in case you aren't totally familiar with what it does. 15 million users in Canada. So we've got 36 million Canadians. So less than half use Twitter. Half of them are going to be on Twitter every month, but most of them are going to be on every day. Half of them, more than half are going to be on every day. Most of them throughout the day. They're called multiple users. It's very popular with politicos and journalists. It's also more popular with men than women. Half of the users are under 35. So as we go through each of these different platforms, I want you to think about the people who vote in municipal elections. Are they people under the age of 35? Maybe they are in your municipality. I think you have a breakdown of voters and the percentage of eligible voters who voted in your particular municipality in the last election. So keep in mind, under 35. Facebook. Facebook actually started as a way for college-age people to connect. Now, seniors are the fastest growing age range on Facebook today. It's also extremely popular in rural and suburban areas. And in Nova Scotia, that is going to be key to campaigning and reaching your constituents. I believe Ty Walsh is going to speak specifically about his particular views on Facebook and how it helped him win the last campaign. So we'll talk about why Facebook is so popular. I think key to it is the fact that almost 2/3 of Canadians are already on Facebook, 24 million users. Facebook has been around since about 2005, so people are well ingrained in using Facebook. They know how to access what they're looking for, so it's a perfect one for you guys to consider. Here's Instagram. This is the one that Wayne Mason used his picture to launch his campaign on Monday. It's really easy. All you need is a picture. Sometimes you don't even need a caption, so it's easy if you're familiar with how to upload photos. The only thing is that it's not so user-friendly if you want to use your computer. It's highly usable if you're using your phone. The thing about Instagram is that the largest group, again, like Twitter, is going to be under the age of 35. In addition, the majority of people on Instagram are women. So you want to make sure that you're targeting the people that you're looking for. We'll talk about that coming up. YouTube has been around for quite a while. It's now, the increased use of YouTube baffles me, I must say. I have kids who are teenagers and they get most of their news and entertainment from YouTube. The average person who is on YouTube spends 40 minutes a day accessing videos. And if you want to be having a campaign portal on YouTube, you really have to think about the videos and the length of videos that you want to be offering people. It's a great add-on, but I wouldn't use it specifically to highlight what you're doing. You also need original videos, so it makes it a little bit trickier if you want to be solely using this. Again, about less than half of Canadians are on YouTube, and the largest group, even younger than Twitter and Instagram. Again, teenagers to 24-year-olds. And LinkedIn. Some of you may be on LinkedIn already for your business profile. I think I like to call this Facebook for business people, because it's people who are sharing stories about their careers, their professional achievements. The thing about LinkedIn is fewer than 10% are in rural areas. So if you're thinking about trying to reach people, your constituents wouldn't be looking to LinkedIn to find you because they're not there. So if you're thinking of using social media in the rural areas, LinkedIn would not be the way to go. It's more a professional network, as Ty Walsh will speak to a little bit later. 51% of the people on LinkedIn have college degrees. So you can see that it's more geared to that professional network. So your key aims, without the signs, without the door-to-door, and without the local journalism, you want to reach a lot of people, you want to do it quickly, cheaply, and you want to be able to project your plans and news about you. So how do we do that? Well, your target audience is already there. 3/4 of Canadians are already spending 3 to 4 hours online every day. We're all at our computers. At lunch, we're checking Twitter, we're checking Facebook, we're looking for new posts. They're already there. They're already willing as well. As it says, 1/3 of registered voters who follow a candidate online do so because they want to learn more about them and they want to feel more connected to that person. So that ready, willing, and able. I think that is a great list of ingredients. For people, you don't even have to think about how to locate them because these are your new doors to knock on. All you have to do is figure out, do I want to connect with middle to older generations? Well, when you consider that 64 Yes, that's right. Sorry, people age 65 and older have the highest participation rate of all age groups in voting in elections. So if you're thinking, okay, if I want to reach those people age 65 and older, because they're the ones that we know are voting, I'm going to reach them on Facebook. I may have a bit of crossover if they have some professional journalist or political interest on Twitter. So there's some crossover there. So the first thing you want to do is pick your platform. Twitter is the easiest by far social media platform to set up. You don't need much at all. You can do quick updates. You only need to do things that are 280 characters long. That's about 28 words. You can say, hi, I'm running for council, vote for me. Here's a link to my Facebook page. Very easy. You can do regular updates. The only thing about Twitter is that the average lifespan of a tweet is about 18 minutes. That's the length of time that it's going to stay in someone's news feed before it disappears. Instagram is a little bit longer. It's going to stay there for about 6 hours. The photo that Way Mason put up would have run its course over about a 6-hour time frame. People would have been able to see it. Facebook is about 5 hours. A lot of people who post on Facebook are constantly wanting to see the newest thing. Ty is going to talk about how Facebook is pushing messaging, especially with videos, to the top of the news feed. And so you want to make sure that you're refreshing and adding pictures and videos. And on YouTube, people are always looking for new videos to watch. So if that is something that interests you, you're gonna need to refresh your videos, but apparently on YouTube, things last 20 days. So it's a longer lifespan, a longer shelf life for things on YouTube. So you don't have to do as much, but you probably have to spend longer doing them. So if you want to get a social media account, how do you do it? This is starting from the very basics. If all you have is an email address and a cell phone number, then you're gonna be able to do it. It is super easy. Create a username, add a profile picture. I'm sure you have a lovely picture of yourself from your municipal website or from your campaign literature, and it's easy to download using your computer. These 4 things are all that you need. There's a link at the bottom of the page there, and I'm worried about going to that page and coming back. So what I'm going to do is, for all of the people who are online today, I'm going to copy this and send it to you. It gives you the step-by-step instructions about how to set up an account on every single social media platform. It's extremely easy, and I don't want to take the time to go through it now, but I just want you to know how easy it is. The tricks of the trade on social media: focus on 1 or 2 platforms and become an expert. I don't think you want to be choosing 5 social media platforms to saturate your message. They can complement each other by using supplemental messaging. But if you want to focus on 1 or 2, I would definitely start with Facebook. And you don't want to use your own personal account. You want to make sure that you have a candidates page that you can set up, and it's a walkthrough to do it. It's very easy. If you enjoy doing videos or you have a lot of pictures that you want to upload to your account, people love seeing those. Pictures and videos are 60%, they're shared 60% more than just typewritten content. So I would say in a campaign election, it's great to take pictures of yourself, you know, going with your signs or visiting neighbors, or in COVID masks, perhaps. you can get yourself out there. Twitter, of course, news and blog posts are very popular. Again, the shorter messaging, good for you to get your message out that way. And yes, don't post from your personal account, as Ty will tell us a little bit later. People that are following him as a politician don't want to see his baby photos, and his friends don't want to see his political photos. So there's a subset there, and that is to create your own campaign page. So find your focus. The most important thing on all of these social media is to update regularly. You can't treat your social media as a website. In the olden days, the website would stay there, it would be stagnant, and at the bottom it would say, do you want more information? Contact me, here's my number. Well, you don't want to do that with social media. You want to make sure that you take the time to update regularly. I think that in the days of door-to-door campaigning, probably you'd spend a lot of evenings going door-to-door. I think you need to take that time that you would have spent doing that and assign it to your social media accounts. And while they are free, they will take your time. And it's important to spend the time and make sure that you upload the information that you want to be out there. It can be stuff from your campaign literature or from a brochure if you don't want to do that this time around. The other thing is, obviously, be responsible. You want to protect your reputation. And you don't want to engage with people online that we call the trolls. If you want to go back and forth with people, that is it's a losing proposition, and it doesn't make you look very good. So I always tell people, don't respond to the trolls. Learn the art of not replying and figuring out who you want to make sure you engage with. And now we will, thank you. I don't think we'll do questions now, Debbie, or should we do questions now?
Well, if anyone has a burning question, there aren't any in the chat right at the moment.
Okay.
But as we transition to Ty's presentation, if anybody has a burning question for Amy. Amy, thank you. That was fantastic. I mean, it's a really great overview of all the different platforms. And for those of you that are new to social media, yeah, I think there's a lot of good information in there. And certainly that link that Amy provided is a really great one. I think you promised to send that out. Is that right?
I will, definitely.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Yeah. And that will be, we will post, Amy will post the presentations for you along with the recording. So it'll be there as well. So.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah, so now we're going to hear from Deputy Mayor Ty Walsh, and he's going to show how he put what Amy told you about into practice to win his last election, and he's got lots of great tips for us, and yeah, and he'll give you some insight in terms of how you can go forward with these different platforms and what worked for him and what did not work for him, perhaps. So Ty, we'll turn it over to you, and I think you have the ability to share screen. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I think Amy, are you sharing for me? Is that?
I'm going to share for you. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Are we all good?
We're all good, Amy. Perfect.
Okay,
cool.
Excellent. All
right, so we've got my presentation, but I think we'll probably have Amy and Debbie's face on there. So nobody get too confused about that. So first off, thanks, Amy, because your presentation and just watching you run through it definitely made me see a lot of holes that I forgot to fill in with my presentation. And you had so much nice white space, and mine is very clunked together. So everybody, we'll get through this pre-election to re-election slideshow together. We'll go to the next one. So this is me. So I'm Ty Walsh. That's Debbie on my screen, not Ty Walsh, but I'm up there with my family just above Debbie. That's my wife, Katrina, who actually works at the County of Kings, and our son, John. So I first ran and was elected in the fall of 2016. I was 30 when I first ran. So being young was something that made me stand out as a different candidate from everybody else in my area. Certainly there have been other younger people that have ran in Berwick before, but I was the new young. So I got a little bit of extra attention for that. I grew up in Berwick, or in and around Berwick, and my wife as well. She's a few years older than I am, so we missed each other in school completely. We never knew each other until we went to NSCC together. And we both thought we'd never move back to Berwick, and the only house that we could agree on was the one that we live in now in Berwick. So we've been here since 2012. We talked about me running as a municipal politician for quite a while. And then we decided to take the jump and go for it. And the day after we found out that we put in the paperwork is when we found out that we were pregnant with our first and only child. So life has been a rush since 2016 for me. And now we'll move on to the election stuff. So first, just to talk about platforms, I know Amy has just covered this off. I'm going to talk mostly about Facebook pages, but I just wanted to give a run through on how I view the other social media networks that are out there. Twitter is great for immediate conversations. I enjoy Twitter sometimes. I was an early adopter, but I don't enjoy it all the time because I don't have the time to be in those immediate conversations all the time. I work. When I'm not working, I'm a stay-at-home dad. When I'm not stay-at-home dad, I'm a counselor. The time to squish in Twitter to my life has just never been there fully. I did a bit when COVID first started back up, but really most of the attention that I get is through Facebook pages, so I stick there usually. LinkedIn is great. I have all my educational and work history up there, so that people can access that if they're more curious about me and they don't see the information through my Facebook page. I've got quite a few connections there, but it's not great for sharing stuff about what's going on either with myself or with the town all the time. It just doesn't get the traction, and it's not always worth the effort. LinkedIn is great to have yourself there as a resource, but not always the greatest for pushing out information. Instagram, I really enjoy. I like taking pictures. It's visual. The thing about Instagram is that, you know, you can put out exciting things that your town has done. You know, we have a great big giant apple in Berwick. It's very photogenic. We use that for a lot of things, but people don't want to see your budget consultations on Instagram. So it's not a great tool as a municipal politician. It's not, it works well in an election, but the key is to make things visual and not wordy. Wordy is not going to pick up that many likes and get you much attention. Facebook, and I'm separating Facebook from a personal account to a professional page account. Facebook, when you're running your first campaign or running your first social media led campaign, is great because often what I did through most of my campaigns, I would make a post on my Facebook page and then I would share it on my personal page. What I found after the election is that people that I knew really well were dropping my Facebook page because they were tired of seeing the same things on both channels. So now my life is divided up on Facebook from everything that involves me hanging out with my family. Usually all that is Facebook pages, unless we're doing something fun in Berwick, or sorry, that's my Facebook personal profile. Anything that I do with the town is all on my Facebook page. And I try not to cross the two very often. And in my other social media, in LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, I have defined on those pages that they're usually mixed profiles. Sometimes from Twitter, I have a random thought, and I'll put that up there. Usually it's more professional stuff. Instagram is usually the opposite. Normally it's photos of me hanging out with my kid, and then every now and then there's something that the town's doing. We can go to the next one. So Facebook pages is the biggest bang for your buck, and I just have two screenshots there. One is of how you view, or how I view my Facebook page on my Facebook page editor on my phone, and then the other is a screen grab from Google Chrome. So that's more the website version. As you can see, you can create a page, and it's going to look differently to different people. The same elements are there, your profile picture's there, your cover photo's there, but it is going to look a little different. Either way. So just to keep that in mind of how you're putting out content. Facebook pages is my main driver for putting out information because I know that most people in town of Berwick, they have Facebook and they use it. Even if it's not all the time, they check into it regularly. And I just saw something, am I using, I'll get to that question in a bit, I guess, because it just went off my screen already. So now I just want to cover some of the types of posts that I used during my first election. So we'll go to the first. So getting started, this was the first picture that I listed, just sort of hinting that I was going to be running for council in Berwick. And it's just a house plant on my kitchen table with a candidate's guide to municipal and school board elections. I made the joke when we ran through earlier, obviously that manual is being changed now because the school board elections are not happening any longer. But putting that photo up was enough to get some attention on my personal Facebook account because at that time nobody really liked my Facebook page. You can send invites out to people to get them to like your page, but it garnered more attention on my personal Facebook account because I shared my Ty Walsh running for council page at that point. So it built up a lot of attention that way, and that was how I chose to start off my first election campaign. We can go to the next slide. So these are the print promotional pieces that I put out when I did my campaign. And as you can see, I had two. The first, the blue one, is very short, just very quick headings of what my campaign issues were. And actually, the blue one, I printed that off from Walmart in the photo print center. So it's just a photo that was printed off. It was 55 cents a piece. I think the prices went up a little bit, but it was a nice, cheap way to get started on the election. And then I had a brochure that I printed off less of, but it was much wordier and went more in depth on my campaign issues. And I didn't pass out as many of those. And you wouldn't really want to put that up on your Facebook page in full because it's too much information to really process at once. So what I did was I just highlighted that I had two different mailings that were going out that I was dropping off at doors, and that you would see different styles. And if you needed more information, you could contact me through the site as well. That's one thing about your print materials, is that you want people to then try and contact you online. Next slide. So another piece that I wanted to put is that it's a blend in the type of attention that you get in an election. So once again, being a young person, that garnered me a bit more attention in the last election. And in the Kings area, we were very lucky that we had 4 young people that were running for election. So the Grapevine, which is a weekly paper run out of Wolfville but covers most of the valley, they captured that story and put us on the cover in a photo shoot. So at that point, then I had my online attention, and I had the Grapevine with this great cover story in print media, and I had my signs that were starting to go out. So those were 3 venues that my name was getting out there to the public. And just to note, the Grapevine is, I think, currently the only regular Valley paper that is still publishing right now, as all the Saltwire media outlets are out. So Grapevine is still a really good resource. And I think the Aurora, which is the Greenwood military-based newspaper, is the other Valley weekly newspaper that's still running. This slide just highlights, I put out 2 videos, one at the start of my campaign on the 13th of September, and one the day before voting started for the advanced polls for our electronic election in Berwick on October the 5th. I boosted both of these videos. The first video that I put out reached about 1,600 people, and I spent $34 boosting that video to make sure that it went out to more people. By boosting it, I was able to use Facebook's demographics tools and try and gear it to people that I knew were voting age. I didn't want it going to as many young people, because I knew the voters in town were majority folks that were 40 plus. So I sent the video mostly to them, and it picked up a lot of shares, a lot of likes and views. And I ended up making a second video because it was much more concise. And by the time that I went out and I'd knocked on a lot of doors in town, my message was much more clear than it was the first time around. And I wanted to really quickly highlight the points that were very important before people voted the very next day. So this video as well, I did have it in there in our slides. I don't believe it's going to work. It didn't in our first dry run. And what the video is mostly, it's like a PowerPoint presentation that runs along with music. You can see the screen share there. Unfortunately, we don't have volume. I think I have an acoustic version of Home playing in the background. This was my way of putting out what my campaign issues were to a wide audience. Video gets picked up much more than just static photos or text does on Facebook. So I was using YouTube as well as a link to get people, and you can also upload your videos directly to Facebook to get even more attention, because they'll play right in Facebook as opposed to going out of Facebook to YouTube. So using those videos were big resources for me. They were great as well, because at that point I was very self-conscious about using my own voice for campaigning. So they allowed me just to put up the text and put up the music and put up some photos, and I didn't have to speak in the video. The irony now is that my council often has a hard time getting me to shut up. But moving on, these 2 posts are just posts I used just during the progress of my election campaign. And in the first photo, you'll see that I'm standing with Mike Trinacity and Barry Corbin, who are also councillors in Berwick. They had been on council previously and had stepped off council. So we were actually at our IntelliVote learning session that night. We were in Middleton because there were a few municipalities around us who were all using the IntelliVote election system, and we were all learning how to use it as a candidate for the first time. And I thought, let's grab a photo, because I want to show that I'm very open to working with anybody who's going to be on council. the story for the 2016 election in Berwick is that there were 5 people running for council of our 6-seat council who had already been on council. And then there were 3 people like myself who had never been on council before. So from the very beginning of the election, I saw that there was really only one spot to grab because everybody knew the other 5 people so much more than they knew me. So I was going to have to work very hard to put my name out there. So in showing that I was looking forward to working with Mike and Barry, even though Barry wasn't actually looking forward to that photo, it really showed that I was ready to work, I was ready to learn, and I was ready to get into council. The next photo, I'm standing with Gary Whittier, who is a 33-year council veteran. He started on council back in the 70s and was the #1 voted councilor every year that he ran. So even though it wasn't a full testimonial, I went out with Gary that night campaigning on his street, and he took me around and introduced me to people. And it was enough for people to see that that somebody that they already put their faith in was putting their faith in me in the election. So that kind of testimonial worked really well. This slide, you'll see I used the same photo twice, and I boosted each post. So signs were huge for my election campaign. I know that in Yarmouth they've taken away the signs. It's just window displays, and in Kempful they're looking at 6 signs. As a new candidate, putting my name out on a sign was huge. And of the councillors that ran with the signs in Berwick, I ended up with the most signs at 52 signs. 20 of them I had custom ordered from Vistaprint, and then the rest were actually recycled signs from a former councillor in the County of Kings who donated his signs to me. We cut his signs in half and repainted them. So my name was everywhere through the town, and it's really a big part of that face value of who is Ty Walsh. I want to find out more about him. Let's check it out online. So that worked really well. And in boosting those photos as well of my signs out there, it was a way of saying, like, not only do I have signs, I'm out there and I'm trying to talk to people. This is me in front of my house, but also other people have my signs in front of their houses. I really like looking at Google Street View because the last time that the Google car came through Berwick was 2016, so all my signs are still up through town. So it's a great view of Berwick that way. We can go to the next slide. This page, I'm just highlighting the first post. Was a bit of a personal blog post. It was something that I'd written to try and get out the information out to community. I wanted to showcase that these were my words, these were my thoughts, and it's a nice photo of me at our Meet the Candidates night, sitting next to Mike Trinacity at the long table where everybody got to meet. That same night, we took a big group photo of all the candidates together. And if we switch to the next slide, what you'll see is that it's really great to have a selfie stick, because every time that you take a selfie stick photo, you're front and center of every photo. So you get to be there and take a little bit of attention. See, it looks so nice in that first photo, but if you look at what it really looks like, you might look a little foolish, but it pays off. So that was a little bit of shameless self-promotion, but also my way of saying I'm looking forward to working with everybody who's in this photo, and no matter who gets on, I think we're going to work towards making a great town. We'll go to the next slide. So as I say, I had used quite a bit of Facebook paid advertising in my first campaign. Well, I say quite a bit, but really it's not very expensive. So I used about $200, which in your first campaign feels like quite a bit. But I mean, certainly my video cost me $34, and that was probably the post that I paid the most to push out to people. And then other posts I would put maybe $4 on, maybe $6 on, $7, just to try and keep my post relevant and in the public eye, and going out to people not only who liked my page or who I had invited to like my page, but going out to people that lived in the specific geographic area that were of voting age. And what I learned more about my demographics is since being elected is that I do really well online with women age 40 plus. That seems to be a really great target demographic with me. They really respond to my posts. They like, they comment, they check in. Men actually do, they look at my page a lot, but men are less likely to like and respond and comment to your posts. So women are a very good target audience when you're online, because women, for the most part, are the conversation starters. They're the people who are going to go out and say, hey, have you heard about this candidate? Have you seen what they're doing? That's really neat and interesting. I haven't seen that before. Let's try and talk to them, or let's talk about them to people that we know, and maybe this person's got a shot at getting elected. The other great thing was that because I was doing sort of a half and half social media door knocking campaign that I was able to, and I wish I'd paid more attention early on, using the electronics information that was delivered through IntelliVote. So with IntelliVote, you can really look at who your demographics are. You know, you can look at Statistics Canada information on what the general age and population is, how many people are in school, what the education level is. It's really worthwhile to check out that information and then take that to Facebook and target your advertisements to those people. And there are great tools on that. I don't have a great link for how to do that, but there's a lot of information online on how to use Facebook to specifically target your advertisements. Next slide. So then everything goes well and you win your campaign, hopefully, and you've done as much as you can right through your social media campaign. You've door knocked. Certainly this year is going to be very different. Who knows if door knocking is even going to be something that anybody does in this election campaign. One note that I have for you is that maybe have your thank you note written up before you get through. I was really nervous my first time. I didn't write a thank you note, and I ended up staying up quite late in the morning writing my first thank you note for thank you for electing me to Berwick Council. So let's talk just a few minutes about some of the things you'll do after you get elected. So I use my page for sharing a lot of local news and events. And if I see news that I feel that is relevant to people in Berwick, that I feel that it's going to affect their daily lives. Certainly, COVID in the last 4 months has really set that into hyperdrive because COVID is affecting the global scale. And so I try and put out what I see to be reliable information on that to people daily. And certainly there's a lot less events going on now too, so that's the other side. You can use your Facebook page to put out the odd blog post, or say if you're using YouTube or making videos, putting them online on Facebook that way. Certainly as a photo blog, you know, highlight what you're doing with photos. I actually had a debate with Emily Lutz, who's obviously deputy mayor of NSFM, or deputy president, vice president. Why am I saying that so wrong? And she looked at me and rolled her eyes and said, Ty, you're always making sure that people are knowing what we're doing. And I said, well, when I think back, and I grew up in the town of Berwick, one of my teachers, my math teachers, was very strong on putting forward, you have to show your work, you have to show people how you're working and how you're getting to the conclusions that you come to. And even though I was a terrible math student, I still understand that to this day, that it's important to show people that, you know, it's worthwhile that people are putting their faith in you to go to these council meetings and set their budgets and set their tax rates, and that you're there doing your best to communicate with the community. Certainly do your best to promote local businesses and community service organizations. People need to hear about, you know, what the great things that local businesses do because they support our communities. Increase awareness of municipal issues and partner organizations. Certainly, if you're not already, follow the NSFM social media feeds because there's lots of great information that comes up there. Just type in municipal on any of your social media feeds and see what pops up and give them a follow because you're going to get more information that way. And have fun. Every social media channel is a different type of conversation, whether it's visual, whether it's long form, whether it's professional, whether it's short back and forth conversation like Twitter. Every social media forum is a conversation, so have fun with it. And if things don't work for you, well, don't put all your attention into it. But the things that do work, put your attention into because it lets you communicate with your community more directly. Next slide. So on that, there are several people in Nova Scotia right now who are municipal elected officials who are doing social media very well, and they run very good either Facebook pages or Twitter profiles. I just highlighted 6 here. Certainly it's not everybody I follow. So I've highlighted David Mitchell, Mayor of Bridgewater, Way Mason, Councillor for Halifax, Emily Lutz, Deputy Mayor of County of Kings, Meg Hodges, Kings County District 1, Meg and Emily, obviously because they're younger, they're doing the same things I am, and we're trying to keep each other in check and make sure that we're finding out what's going on in the local area. Abram Zabian, he's just recently won an election. Looking back at it now, West Hants having that early election is doing pretty good. They certainly got out a little easier in some ways. And also Pam Mood, who not only shares stuff about Town of Yarmouth, but also about NSFM. So look up anybody who is a municipal politician and follow what they do, and sometimes copy what they do, and sometimes look at what they do and improve on what they do. It's very worthwhile to keep yourself in that municipal world. The annoying thing that I'm going to remind you of now is that friends will talk to me and they'll say, oh, did you see that our friend had a baby, or they had twins, or that they're moving to Norway? My Facebook page is now my Facebook feed. What I do is I've subscribed to every business in town, every community organization, all of these municipal politicians, and so I mostly only look at things that come up in my notification feed in Facebook. So anything that comes up on the general feed, I don't see as often anymore, but I'm very aware and very in touch with what's going on around me in that sphere of what's going on through social media. So turning on notifications is a big step to making sure that you're aware of everything that's happening. We can go to the next slide. So I chose this photo because it came with the presentation package I was using in Apple PowerPoint. So municipal election 2020 will present new challenges, but they are not insurmountable. So next slide, we'll look at some new things that we can do. So if you've ran before, and I'm assuming most people on this call, on the NSFM call, are municipal elected officials. I don't, Debbie, do we have folks that have never ran before on this call, or was it open to them? We don't think so? Okay. Well, yeah. Look at what worked in 2016. You know, have a deep think about what your campaign was like, what worked really well, what do you never want to do again, and think, will certain things work again in this new climate that we're in with COVID? Will these things work? And if they don't work the way that they worked last time, can you tweak it? Oh, we do have a new person. Welcome, Aaron. Can you tweak what you're doing? Can you take the conversations that you were having with people at the door, and can you turn that into a conversation that you're having online? Can you use Zoom meetings for that? Can you do one-on-one Facebook Messenger calls? Those sorts of things. And try new things, right? Try new types of conversations. We'll go to the next slide. So make videos. Like I say, I used Spark, Adobe Spark Video to make my videos. They've changed the program a bit. I think it's more of a paid program now. But as I say, it's essentially just a PowerPoint presentation put to video and put to music. You can do that easily if you have an iPad or an iPhone. You can do that easily through their video maker, which name has escaped me right now, but it comes with just about any Apple software. So there are lots of different pieces that you can use to make videos. The other thing you can try is going live. If you make a live video from your Facebook page, what's great is that Facebook will send a notification out to everyone who follows you, no matter how big your page is, if you use a live video. So every time you make a live video, it goes out to everyone who follows you, and they can either watch along, or they can share it, or they can ignore it. But it's the best way to get it out there to the most people all at once. And then you can save that video so that people can go back and watch it later. You can now combine Facebook and Instagram ads because Facebook owns Instagram. So you can pay for an ad that will look very similar on Facebook as what it will to Instagram. So obviously you want it to be very visual. Instagram tends to skew to younger people. So make sure that your Facebook ad can also skew to younger people, and use that in your advertising when you're choosing who you're going to target the ad to. You can team up with other candidates. As you see, I did that in my first election. You know, have a video, discuss municipal issues together, put that online, whether it's live or whether it's recorded and then you put it up later. It's worthwhile, and it don't even have to be municipal politicians who live directly in your area, because the issue is more important, and people hearing you talk about the issue is more important than making sure that you're talking directly with people in your area. And I mean that only in the video. Obviously, talking with people in your area is still the most important thing. But putting that out there, that this is your knowledge on that subject matter, that's really very important. Hosting Zoom meetings. Now, I am not incredibly familiar with Zoom. Zoom itself is, I think, essentially transforming into its own social media platform too, along with all the meetings that we're all attending by Zoom. So with Zoom, there are ways, and I've done Zoom calls with our MP that have then been live streamed through Facebook. So that's something I'm going to look forward to trying through my campaign in 2020, is that having those Zoom calls and have those, because we can't be in the same room together, but have a conversation with a few people at once. You know, if I get too full of myself, I'm sure I'll start calling it the Walsh Talk Show, but we won't get there yet. Pre-arrange video calls with your constituents. So we aren't, even if we can door knock, the types of conversations that we were able to have in 2016 at the door are not going to be the same type and quality of conversation that we can have in 2020. We won't be, like, I was certainly invited into a lot of houses, and I didn't love that part. I didn't like sitting in somebody's living room for 20 minutes because it makes it harder to get away. But now you can arrange those video calls. Many seniors, especially through COVID, have now become very familiar with video calls and talking with their family that way. So that is a very personal one-on-one way that you can reach out to people in your community. You can say, hey, would you like to have a chat? Get a hold of me here and we'll set up a time and date. And Facebook Messenger is just fine for running those video calls. Make sure that you try and have a full web presence, whether or not you're using all of your media at once. You know, have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, a little something on LinkedIn. If you make a video, don't just put it on Facebook, put it on YouTube. I have a website, and I even took like a website building class. And as you can see in this, if it shows on the screen, I think my last post was June of 2019, and I wasn't even deputy mayor yet. So have a website. They're obviously very static. It gets very annoying to update your website, but you can have it, you can do a website that is fully geared towards your election, and then you can take it down and forget about it for another 4 years. And tell people that your main points of contact are through phone, email, or social media. Keep pushing local through your campaign. So not just putting things out about your campaign and that you are important, but push the idea that your community is important. Push out things about your small businesses, about your local businesses, about a blog rather than a website. Yeah, you can do that. A blog and a website kind of merge together in a lot of places. Blog and Facebook could even merge together. If you write a blog, make sure that you post the link to your blog on your Facebook, on your Twitter, even on your Instagram if you've got a good photo to go up with it. The tricky thing with Instagram is that Instagram doesn't do links very well, so you have to put that link in your information bio on your own Instagram page. You can't put the link in your individual Instagram post. And like in the last election, use your traditional print media to pull people to those online conversations with you. So funny thing, when I first ran for council, I thought that I would get a lot of phone calls and emails in the first year of being a councillor. And I don't know whether it was just because I was the least known of all the people that got in, or whether people were cutting me some slack because they soon found out after I got elected that we were having a baby and they're like, oh, that guy's too busy. But I didn't get contacted very much unless I was going to Foodland to go pick up that one item I needed for supper. I couldn't leave the house to go to Foodland and count on getting back home within 10 minutes, which is all it should take me. Every trip to Foodland was about 40 minutes because somebody would say, I didn't want to bother you, but now that I'm seeing you, let me tell you about this issue with my driveway. So be visible, but obviously COVID is going to be very different. I always feel like when I've got the mask on out in public that I'm invisible and that people won't know who I am. But I normally wear a Batman hat and my ears are big, so people pick me up in a crowd really fast. So try and pull those conversations online so that you're not having them out in public all the time too. I think we can go to the next slide. Have fun, even when things don't go right. Certainly, as I say, when I made my first video, I was really nervous about using my own voice, which is ironic because when I was in high school, I wanted to go into radio and I never did. I got scared out of that. Now I am probably one of the loudest on our council. I seek out media coverage to try and cover what's going on in the town, whether it's things through local festivals, through businesses. I try and get that kind of attention so that people are seeing that Berwick is a really great place to live, raise a family, start a business, all those great things. But it doesn't always go right. Sometimes I say the wrong thing. Sometimes I'll talk out of turn, and I'm still new, and I get called on things, and that's fine. My council is very great in understanding. They know that I'm the new guy, and we work together very well as a team. And I certainly wish that for anybody who's running for elected office, that the council that they get on with will work really well together as a team. Because when you look at media as well, one thing that happens is that all it takes is for one person on your council to look bad, and then your entire council looks bad. But if one person on your council looks really good, that helps all of your council look really good. So be aware that mistakes will happen, but have fun with it. Have those conversations. Next slide. And that's just my contact info. So you can find me on just about any social media platform, normally at Ty Walsh. On Facebook, my page is Ty Walsh Berwick, just because it's a little bit more definition. You can reach me by email there, or my phone number. And as I say, I have a website, but you're not going to find any relevant information on it for at least another month or so. And that's everything I have as far as a presentation.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ty. Lots of great information for sure. So yeah, thank you. Thank you, Amy, as well. So we do have a few questions in the chat box, and I might, because I know sometimes it's hard to follow the chat while people are presenting, so I might just kind of go back to the beginning. Councillor Mercedes Bryan from the town of Wolfville had asked about, when she was campaigning in 2016, was asked about having Facebook and Twitter. And she just wanted to let people know that even though you don't have Facebook, you can still access a Facebook page. So just a point that she wanted to make. And then there were a couple of questions around having an individual Facebook account. So I'm not sure, Ty or Amy, if you want to address that. I think the consensus seemed to be that if you had separate pages, it became a bit awkward. So maybe I'll just leave that. I think the next three questions were around whether you should have separate Facebook account or separate pages for council versus home.
I could jump on that.
Great.
Sure.
So on my Facebook right now, so I have my regular Facebook account that everybody has that's connected to all my friends and acquaintances and people that I sort of know and stay in touch with. And then I have my professional page, which started out as my election page. And I actually thought at the time that I would probably drop that page after I was elected. I thought, well, I'm done with this now. I don't need to get elected anymore, and I'm good. What I saw almost immediately after the election was that it was still really important as a municipal leader to put out information and to be responsible to put out information and make sure that your community was informed, because an informed community is a community that functions better together. So one of the things that I had to look at was the changes that you make. You can go on after your election. Like I will go on in the next few weeks probably. I haven't made my official announcement yet, but I think everybody knows that I'm running. And I will go on, and my Facebook page will change from Ty Walsh Berwick Deputy Mayor to re-elect Ty Walsh Berwick Town Council, something of that sort. After your election, you can, if you're a first-time councillor, after you've been elected, you can go on and say Ty Walsh Councillor-elect Town of Berwick, or you can go on and after that be Ty Walsh Berwick Town Councillor. I don't know if I'll be put in as Deputy Mayor again. I like the job, I'd do it again, but we'll have to wait and see on that for what my Facebook page changes that. The other way you can do it too is if you look at Waymason, for example. Waymason is just Waymason. There's no other title there. There's no councillor district, District 7, I think. So it's just Waymason. And for a lot of folks, that is simpler. That way you're not changing your title back and forth. But in a self-admission, I took on the role of Deputy Mayor to be able to put a little bit more weight on the words that I say and to try and pull people into looking at Berwick as a community more. So that's why I chose to put it on there. That said, along with your Facebook account, and you can have then a Facebook page, I'm also the administrator of about 5 other Facebook pages. So Berwick Gala Days is another page that I run along with a few other people. The Berwick Food Bank, Berwick and District Lions Club. Those things are things that my hands are in as well. So I have different spots where I can post different things.
Great, thank you, Ty. Amy, was there anything you wanted to add, or did Ty cover? Okay, perfect. Okay, I just also want to mention that Councillor Bryan also mentioned that she used Hootsuite. I'm sure Ty and Amy are familiar with that, but it sounds like it's something that could organize posts. So she's going to use that again when she runs in this election. Amy's nodding her head. So Hootsuite. something to consider. And then I think our last question that I have so far is from Susan McLeod. And Ty, you might have started to answer this. Can a page be transferred to an independent account without losing content? I think you were talking a little bit about that.
I'm not certain. I'm not certain. Like, I think Facebook really requires you to have some form of account. Like, whether, say, Facebook wants you to make sure that you are who you are and that you're not just a troll who's setting up a site with a fake name. So they want to make sure, like, they see several pictures of you, like, on your account, so they can verify it's the same person who's using this account. And then if that person sets up a page, then that gives it a bit more validity. But otherwise, there's a little bit more scrutiny to those pages and what Facebook will actually push out. So not using your own personal Facebook account to make a page probably won't work very well for you as an elected politician or somebody in an election, because your stuff is less likely to be pushed out, because there will be that extra layer of scrutiny that Facebook will look at. And I don't know if that's a definitive answer. You might be able to, but I wouldn't recommend it, I guess. I would recommend using your own name. And like I say, you can live totally separate lives from your personal account to your Facebook page. But yeah, I would recommend that, you have that step.
Can I just ask something again to Ty?
Sure.
Just to clarify that. Okay, what I have is I have a regular Facebook page, Susan
Yep.
McLeod, and
Yep.
an account, right? I set up, and then I added the page on that for counselor.
Yep.
So I have information on that, and I always share that back to my regular page. Okay?
Yep.
So what my question was, if I set up a whole new account as a candidate for mayor, I have to start from fresh again. I can't move anything from my other page over, can I?
No, I mean, it would
Okay.
be, you
That
would be
was my
like copying and pasting pictures and
Yeah,
text.
okay.
forth.
Yeah, that was a question I meant.
Yeah,
Can you
as I say,
transfer content? Yeah.
what you can do is if you don't want to start from scratch, and I think the rules on this are maybe murky. If you don't want to start from scratch, you could change your counselor page to I'm now using this page to run for mayor.
Yeah,
and
I've done that too.
Yeah, there's no rule against that, right? So I mean, you can do that, and I would maybe even advise it, because then people can see your history, that this is what I stood for then, this is what I stand for now.
Okay, and I had another question, if I can, down at the bottom, and I think my question was losing my train of thought now.
Susan, I can see it. It was whether you're in.
Do you have to like my page, like my regular page, in order for the folks on to be able to get access my counselor page?
Yeah.
They have to like it first, and then the acknowledgments and all that information I post will come up to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing, you have to be kind of sly in how you do it too, is that people that follow your page,
Yes.
it's try and get them, like, make your information as interesting as you can, so that people will want to share the information that you're putting out with their friends. Because you have to think, like, every network spiders out, right? So like every friend that you have has 5 friends that you don't have. So you want to try and get that friend to share your information to the 5 other friends.
Okay.
Yeah, so as Facebook kind of has a bit of a lockdown, like every time that you say, like, share this or like this, Facebook is actually less likely to share that information with as many people. But try and make your information creative in a way that people want to share this information. Like, frame it like, hey, do you love your community and do you want to make sure that this works for us? I don't know, it's very light, but take a lot of time in your messaging. And that's one thing that Amy touched on just briefly too, and that I didn't really discuss, but I probably should have. We had the spring NSFM session, and there was a social media session that was there. We brought in some professional media folks who I coincidentally knew before they even came in. I didn't realize they were going to be there. And the question came up of, if you're doing social media, how much time are you spending as a counselor paying attention to that social media? And the truth is that probably I spend no less than 3 hours a day on my Facebook page. And, and that's like added up. Like, I mean, I have a toddler, so everything is broken up in my day. But whenever I can, I'm on there trying to share a story that I see that's relevant, or writing something or putting a photo up. Trying to make sure that the photos themselves are very visually catching is very important too. It really is, it can feel very selfish because you're doing your best to put out a very good image so that people will want to pay attention to what you're doing and then share your content.
And I'll just add 2 points to that if I could. We talked earlier about videos and pictures being really important. So a post with a video is 6 times more likely to be shared. So what you were saying, Susan, about I have to get people to, like my page. Well, you want to make sure that they're sharing it too. And if you have a short video, it will be 6 times more likely to be shared. The other important thing to remember is, as Ty said, people are on Facebook for a lot of time. Mostly they're on before 10 a.m. and after 8 p.m. That's the 2 biggest times. I know when I wake up in the morning, I know it's going to sound pathetic, but the first thing I do is I reach for my iPhone and I go through NSFM social media accounts. And I'm often lying in bed doing it, but I think that's an image that most people, the 3/4 of Canadians who are on the internet are doing exactly the same thing, first thing in the morning and last thing before bed. So if you're able to update your Facebook page between those windows, you know that you're going to have guaranteed viewers and likes and shares, in that time frame. So it's a good use of your time. And as I said, it's going to have to replace your door-to-door if this is something that you cannot do in this particular campaign.
Great, thank you.
It's worth it.
And Facebook prioritizes, as I say, like not only video, but Facebook prioritizes different types of posts too. So normally in the run of a day, Facebook will push out your posts to the people that follow you, or that like you, no more than 5 times a day. Because if you're posting more than 5 times a day, Facebook sees it as excessive. That through COVID, there have been days that I've posted over 40 items in a day. But that said, if you share 5 news stories a day, but you also share like 2 photos a day that have no link to any other place that are clearly just yours. And if you're in the photo, and Facebook can normally recognize that too, like if it's your face in a photo, then they'll try and give that an extra boost. Those types of things also catch more attention. I try and make it a rule to never post anything without some sort of visual to it. I never post anything that's just plain text because it never picks up. But even if it's something about the town and I have to use the same photo of Berwick's giant apple over and over again, I'll do that because people will be like, oh, why is Ty talking about the apple? Oh, he's not talking about the apple. He's talking about the tax rate. It grabs more attention than just putting up a static black and white text piece.
Excellent.
Any other questions for Amy or Ty? We have 2 minutes left before we get cut off. No, I'm just kidding. We won't get cut off.
I just had a quick question. It's Sherry calling from Shelburne, or speaking from Shelburne. And Ty, you'd mentioned video calls to constituents as a potential replacement for door-to-door. So, we're doing a fabulous job here in the municipality of the District of Shelburne in terms of the internet rollout. And of course, COVID likely disrupted some of the progress. So I don't know if we are on target for that coverage, but there'll be people in the district that I'm running in that don't have optimal internet. And so therefore, that probably isn't going to be a venue.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
I would say that would be correct. I mean, yeah, you can't really host a video call.
Yeah.
Unless you do like a FaceTime, but then you're looking at eating up a lot of data, right?
Right.
So you really do have to look at what the strengths are. And if that's the case, I would recommend, making social media posts, but maybe just highlighting that you can call or have even a distance visit or find like a communal place, coffee shop, and sit like 10 feet apart. Yeah, because obviously a video call in bad internet is not going to work for either of you, and it would probably only make you look bad.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Right? Because they're looking for you to bring the internet.
The disconnect is so evident in this whole COVID thing, and to attempt it would be, yeah, it just wouldn't be spot on. I like what you just said about, you know, maybe a local restaurant where there is sufficient room where you could perhaps invite people.
Yeah, and I just think Shelburne right away. So I love Shelburne. We camp every year at the Islands Campground. It's our favorite
Nice.
spot.
Yeah.
And so we love the Beandock just in town
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the perfect spot. You're having a cup of coffee. You're outside. You're on the water, and you can have a really pleasant conversation with somebody right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Nice to hear these innovative ideas or solutions. So that's great. Thank you, Sherry, for sharing that.
Thank you.
I just also wanted to add in too, I see Sandra Snow, you're right in the center of my screen. And I just want you to know, no hard feelings that I didn't get a screen capture of your Facebook page profile. You also do really amazing things too. Lenny White, I know you're on the call as well, and you actually popped up as a notification because I get notifications all the time as I was screenshotting. So once again, there's a lot of really good people doing municipal work on social media right now. So it's really important to follow along other folks as well.
Hmm.
Well, thank you, everyone. I'm looking at the time. We've just gone 1 minute over, which isn't too bad. It's 12:16. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us, taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. Thank you very much to Amy and to Ty for sharing all their great information. So as we mentioned, this is being recorded. So in a couple of days, maybe early next week, we'll have the recording will be, Amy turns it into a YouTube video somehow. She works her magic there. And we'll also post both Amy and Ty's presentations. We'll share Ty's video with you, and Amy's going to also share that link that is in one of the presentations to get you started on all those platforms if you're new to them. So yeah, so thank you. And I just wanted to mention too, next Tuesday, the 23rd, sorry, next Thursday, the 23rd of July, we're having our Eliminating Racism and Discrimination webinar. So if you want to join us for that, just send us a note and we'll send you the link. And again, thanks for being here today. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck with everything too. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you so much, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you online. I'll be checking all of your posts and everywhere. So get at it. No
you,
excuses
everyone.
now.
And good luck.
Before everyone
Thank
goes, it's Lenny. I just want to suggest if you want to know how to use Facebook and social media, just like and follow Ty.
Very true.
You'll get great schooling.
Yeah.
Lenny.
Thanks,
Good luck,
everybody. Any
everyone.
questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, feel free to reach out as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know if Aaron's still on the call, but good luck to you, Aaron.